Queen Camilla narrowly avoids an awkward moment, as she and King Charles embark on their trip to France. King Charles and Queen Camilla's state visit to France has finally begun 6 months after the trip was postponed due to unrest in the country, and they will travel to Paris and Bordeaux. Welcome to Royal Pancakes. Please don't forget to subscribe and click the notifications bell, so you don't miss any updates about the British royal family. King Charles and Queen Camilla have finally begun their state visit to France 6 months after it was significantly postponed. The couple landed at Orly Airport at lunchtime and got off the plane as Camilla battled the wind while clinging to her pink Philip Treacy hat and trying to keep her dress from Fiona Clare from falling. They travelled on a private charter flight from Farnborough aboard the Airbus Baby Voyager and were officially welcomed by French Prime Minister Elisabeth Borne and the French government. They were also received by Foreign Secretary James Cleverly, British Ambassador to France Dame Mena Rawlings and French Ambassador to Great Britain Hélène Treacy, who greeted the couple at the bottom of the plane's stairs. An honour guard, consisting of 1 officer and 20 guards from the Garde Républicaine, stood along the route from the plane. They then left Bentley State Airport for a welcoming ceremony in central Paris. There they joined their guests, President Emmanuel Macron and his wife Brigitte, for a memorial service and wreath-laying ceremony at the Arc de Triomphe in the heart of Paris. As part of the ceremony, the king was invited by the president to symbolically light the eternal flame of the monument, which burns in memory of the fallen of the First and Second World Wars. The four then drove by car along the Champs-Élysées to the Élysée, the president's official residence, where Charles and Mr. Macron sat down to chat. Tonight, Charles and Camilla will be the guests of honor at a grand black tie state banquet hosted by Mr. and Mrs. Macron in the magnificent Hall of Mirrors at the Palace of Versailles. The King and Mr. Macron will address the 160 guests, who include high-profile figures chosen for their contribution to UK-France relations, including Hugh Grant, Mick Jagger, Arsène Wenger, Didier Drogba, and Patrick Vieira. Mr. Macron welcomed Charles' arrival with a poignant message, writing on social media, "You visited him as a prince, you are returning as a king. Your Majesty, welcome." He shared archive footage from some of the King's previous 34 official visits to the country as Prince of Wales, as well as clips of speeches he made in French. Charles and Camilla were due to visit Paris and Bordeaux in March, but the trip was suspended after violent nationwide protests by opponents of Mr. Macron's retirement age reform. The foreign trip was supposed to be the first state visit for the king and his wife, but Germany, the second leg of the trip, became the royal couple's first historic destination. The decision to postpone the state visit was taken after the French leader asked the British government to postpone the trip, Downing Street said at the time. Images of Bordeaux town hall being burned by protesters just days before the trip began symbolized the anger some felt over Mr. Macron's reforms and followed more than a week of daily demonstrations. French unions had also called for national pension protests to coincide with Charles and Camilla's planned visit in March. President Macron was on the phone with the king in the morning when the trip was cancelled following discussions between the British and French governments. The French leader then pushed through his unpopular reform and increased the retirement age from 62 to 64. This is Charles' 35th official visit to France and Camilla's 9th official visit. The couple last visited France in 2019 and attended a service at Bayeux Cathedral to mark the 75th anniversary of the Normandy landings.